Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 135 and a half. My name is John Morgan. Cold coffee, well, he is sitting back home in Las Vegas, enjoying himself. He's going to edit all this and put it all together, so I appreciate him. Then you may say, where's Fernanda Prates? I know you're in Brazil. You just wrapped up UFC Fight Night 119. Brunson versus Machida. Where's Fernanda Prates? Well, bottom line is we ran out of time. We just straight up ran out of time. She was ready. She was going to jump on. But I had to get to the airport. So right now I'm sitting in the Admirals Club at the Sao Paulo-Guarulhos. No, you're not supposed to roll your R's in Portuguese. I apologize. Guarulhos Airport. Something like that. G-R-U. If you have a little kid, it's kind of funny because it's Gru. Like Despicable Me. If you don't have a kid, then you don't think that's funny at all. But that's irrelevant because what we need to talk about is the fact that UFC Fight Night 119 is in the books. And I gotta tell you, we said it going in. We said, look, man, this is going to be a fun card. There's a lot of good matchups. We're not trying to be the cheesy person that just says, you know, when nobody's paying attention to the card, it matters. No, we weren't saying that. We're saying there were good matchups on the card. And I think that's exactly what we got. I think we had a fun night. Sao Paulo at Ibirapuera Gymnasium was a little bit hot, a little bit steamy, a little bit smoky inside, but we had a good night of fights. And in the main event, Derek Brunson knocked out Lyoto Machida in the first round, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Amazing performance by Derek Brunson. Tough night because I'm telling you, Lyoto Machida is an absolute star in Brazil. I mean, again, if you listened to episode number 135, you know it was just, I even said it, I was almost starstruck. Welcoming the guy back to the UFC, it was amazing. Here was a guy that really has accomplished so much, a former champion, and just carries himself with such dignity and such class, and you know, was so excited to be back after just such a controversial time away. Just a weird situation, man. I mean, he was suspended from USADA, so of course you have to give that credence. But you know, you research the subject, or not the subject, the substance, and it seems like something you can pick up every day at the grocery store. You know, so it just seemed like a weird thing to be away from. But here he is. He's coming back, 39 years old. Looks fresh. Says that I'm feeling good. And sometimes that time away, I don't think it's a bad thing, to be honest with you. Sometimes, and it also sounds weird because it almost sounds wrong to say that if a guy takes a year or two away because he's suspended, it's a good thing to let his body rest, to heal, all those things. It almost sounds bad because, I mean, how could a, you know, USADA imposed suspension be a good thing? But I did. I don't know, man. I felt like maybe, you know, Machida said it was a chance for him to refocus, to let his body rest, and then the fight plays out. And listen, I had a horrible night of picks. I went 2-4 on the main card, but the two I got were the main and the co-main, so at least I was dialed in on the featured fights. But even the Derek Brunson pick, man, I was more confident on picks earlier in the main card, and we'll talk about those shortly, than I was about the Derek Brunson pick. Because to me, yes, the question marks were all around Lyoto Machida. That's the guy who we haven't seen in 2 years. That's the guy who we don't think necessarily cheated. But if he did, how's his body going to be different? How's he going to, you know, it's just different, man. I mean, listen, game time, full speed versus your training, it's a different thing. It's a different ball game. But Derek Brunson seemed like a potentially tailor-made opponent. I mean, in fairness, I think Derek Brunson was unfairly talked about or criticized for the Robert Whittaker fight, right? I mean, even he said, like, dude, I just lost my mind. I lost my mind. I don't know what. I was in the main event. I was trying to go put on a show, and I rushed after Robert Whittaker. And it turns out, yeah, Robert Whittaker is pretty damn good. I still think he beat Anderson Silva, to be honest with you, so don't know about that. And then, of course, he's come back with wins over Daniel Kelly and now Lyoto Machida. So the question marks were around Lyoto Machida, but it did seem like Derek Brunson could be the type of opponent that would play directly into what Lyoto Machida wanted. And as the fight was playing out, I gotta say, I didn't think Lyoto looked bad. I thought that he was, I thought physically, number one, he looked good. I thought he looked confident. I thought he looked like that Lyoto Machida of old, of course, we know what he's coming with, right? He's coming with those karate techniques. He's coming with that wide stance. He's coming with that in and out, just looking to time everything. I thought Lyoto looked good. I didn't hate. I know we only saw 2.5 minutes, but I didn't hate what I saw. What I did think is that he needed to pull the trigger. There were a couple opportunities there, and I know Lyoto is not aggressive. He's not going to come out and storm after you. He's not going to be that guy, right? He's going to time you. He's going to step back. He's going to try to counter you. But what I did feel that is he was starting to make those little feints. He was starting to make those little fakes, and I thought that if he had pulled the trigger earlier, he might have had a chance to catch Derek Brunson. But I will say this. I thought as the fight was playing out that he was starting to time Derek Brunson very well. And I really did think right before the knockout that Derek Brunson needs to get this done ASAP. He needs to get this done ASAP because Lyoto is starting to find his rhythm. Lyoto is starting to not only find his own rhythm, but he's also starting to establish Derek Brunson's rhythm as well. And I thought it was going to get more and more dangerous for Derek Brunson as this fight wore on. I thought Lyoto Machida was starting to get comfortable, starting to get confident. But then Derek Brunson caught him with those big hands. Knocked him down, jumped on top, and just devastating blows on the ground. To be honest, probably more than he needed to take. Fight could have been stopped a little bit earlier. I'm not saying it was a late stoppage. I'm not saying it was a bad thing. But what I'm saying is it could have been stopped a little bit earlier. I see Niner over here. That's why, just to give you a little look around. Now the fellow VIPs up in the Admirals Club are starting to look around. The production staff that has not been asleep yet, I'm assuming, just like me, they're just laughing at me. They're making fun of me. They're just glad that they don't have to hear me snore on the plane because I didn't get upgraded. My business class upgrade did not get done. I'm just coach on the way home. They are business class. But listen, I think there were a few extra shots in there that didn't need to be taken, but I didn't hate the stoppage, to be honest with you. I thought it was okay. But so many question marks now. Where does Lyoto Machida go from here? I heard briefly that there was consideration of taking him to the post-fight press conference. I'm kind of glad he didn't, to be honest with you. Here's a guy that was off for 2 years. Now gets knocked out cold. I don't know what the next move is. I mean, I definitely don't think that he's done. I mean, he seemed, in talking to him in the week ahead, I mean, he seemed refired. He seemed excited. He seemed to be in a good place. I mean, he's nearing 40 years old. But he seemed to still be in a good place. And I think there's still fights out there available for him. I just don't know. I talked to his camp briefly back at the host hotel before we came here to the airport, and they said, listen, we haven't spoken to, spent a lot of time around him. We haven't talked to him a lot. I mean, he seems to be okay, but I mean, I think there are still fights available for him. I don't think it's time for him to walk away. Derek Brunson's a bad dude. Derek Brunson is a bad dude, and Derek Brunson is an underrated dude. He's on a little bit of a win streak now. And again, I mean, that Robert Whittaker fight, you can, in my opinion, I hate to say you just throw it out, right? I mean, you can't just throw it out. I mean, it was a fight. It was a big moment, and he failed in that big moment, right? But he acted so out of character in that fight. Go back and look at the record. Machida, Daniel Kelly, Anderson Silva, come on. Robert Whittaker, yes, terrible. But then you go back to the wins. Uriah Hall, Jukow, Sam Alvey. I mean, Ed Herman. Tough dudes. Tough dudes. That he's finishing in the first round. Derek Brunson deserves more credit. And I don't think he gets the credit for a number of reasons. First of all, he's kind of quiet. I don't think he hates doing media, but he's just kind of quiet. He's not going to give you those huge sound bites. He's not going to give you those Conor McGregor moments. He's not going to give you, that one piece of audio or that one piece of video that you're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna tweet this everywhere. We're gonna do this. He's not gonna do that. But man, the victories are impressive, and it just strikes you as a good dude. So big win for Derek Brunson here. Was a rough night, I'm telling you right now. As soon as he won the fight, the arena in Sao Paulo just started emptying out. People just started bailing. It was one of those take the air out of the arena type moments. Everybody bailed. But I will say, they were very, very respectful. Derek had been very respectful going in. If you saw in the pre-fight coverage, man, he was highly respectful of Lyoto Machida going in. He was highly respectful afterwards. Just said, listen, man, this guy is the real deal. He deserves all the respect in the world. And Derek Brunson just spent a few minutes in front of the post-fight media in Sao Paulo. You'll notice conspicuously that my voice is absent. I was running the camera tonight. Fernanda Prates was handling things up front. But here's what Derek Brunson had to say to the media in Brazil.
Derek, here. Wait, here. Okay. Amazing performance, congratulations. Did you expect such a quick fight? You know, like you knock out, you defeated Lyoto Machida by knockout in the first round. Did you expect such a quick finish?
No, Machida's been fighting a long time, and he's one of those guys who don't have a lot of holes in his game. If you have a less experienced fighter, like a lot of the guys that's ranked under me who are younger fighters, I feel I can dismantle them, you know, take them down. But I see Lyoto was very ready for the takedowns. I saw a lot of his training videos, a lot of his open workouts, and he's been around for a while and been in a big fight. So I wasn't expecting a quick finish. I was kind of like, you know, I was going to take my time. We would have came out here to Brazil, and it would have went the distance, and I would have lost the decision. You know, I just had to live with it, but I was definitely going to fight my fight.
And in the post-fight interview, you mentioned Luke Rockhold. Is that a real wish for you up next?
Yeah, for sure. Why not? Luke Rockhold is 1 or 2 in the division. I'm sure the media have a lot to say about Machida coming back, you know, saying maybe, you know, he lost a little bit, but I don't buy into that. He's the same guy. He does the same thing he's been doing his whole career. He's just able to get out of the way most of the time, but this time he wasn't.
We talked a little bit about this before, and you mentioned that you weren't really that concerned about the atmosphere and being like the villain here and things like that. But once you got here, how was just really we saw how it was in the arena. It was very intense. Just how was overall the experience for you?
It was great. It's funny because I said, I think Colby helped me out a lot. He was being such a rude boy that the crowd was like, hey, we'll give this guy a fair shake. But I like Brazil. Brazil's a beautiful country. I went to Fortaleza once, and it was right by the beach, so that was really cool. I was supposed to fight then. My opponent got in an accident, so I just ate seafood the whole time. And it's pretty cheap, so I loved it. But it was a great experience. The crowd supported their fighter. I expect them to do nothing less, but like I said, they can't jump in the octagon and fight, so it didn't matter.
You did mention that maybe after Colby they would give you a fair shake, and really we got really different reactions. Even I guess before he was saying all the things that he said, obviously he called us like filthy animals or whatever. And then when you knocked out Machida, it was like dead silent. Was that surprising to you at all?
No, funny enough, I have a weird career. I take weird fights. I do weird things. But early on in my career, I started off 4-0, and I had all knockouts in the first round. So nobody in North Carolina wanted to fight me, so I had to go to other people's territory and fight them. I fought in Florida, I fought in Rhode Island, and it was all in the person's backyard. And I was able to get like a 15-second finish over a guy who was pretty good, and the whole crowd was silent. So I'm kind of used to that feeling after you know, go to someone's home and get a first-round finish.
You talked about Luke Rockhold, but at the same time, and this is also something you've talked about before, it's a difficult division to even like assess where you're at and what you're gonna do next, considering all the variables. Considering what you just did, you just knocked out Machida in his hometown. You know, in these conditions, the guy was an ex-champ. But then you have all the other variables. He was coming off a long layoff. How is he placed in the division? So really, where does this win put you in the UFC's middleweight division?
You know, funny, I like the reporters to talk about what it actually is. You look at Lyoto. his last fight, he lost to Romero. Close fight. Up until Romero was able to take him down and get the finish. Very close fight. The fight before that, I don't know who did he fight? Maybe Chris before that? And then
Rockhold.
Rockhold, right, yeah, Rockhold was able to get him, and before that he fought Mousasi, and I believe he beat Mousasi 3-0, and Mousasi beat Chris Ryman right before he left the UFC, so, like I said, people might lose a little bit of timing, speed, but the skill set is always going to be there. Like, I think Machida can wake up when he's 50 and still hit the same katas and throw the crazy kicks. I watched him in open workouts and he looked pretty impressive.
But then at the same time, you talked about the skills and how he could have lost a little bit of his timing and a little bit of just his control of the cage and things like that. And then, but also that's a big part of his skill set, don't you think, in terms of his style?
I think, funny enough, he's like I fought a guy similar. Well, I fought Anderson, and Anderson's really tricky. And I fought a guy also, Uriah Hall, who's similar to Lyoto. They're both karate style and they both pull a lot. So he does the same things that I noticed in his tape. He's one of the guys, it's hard to reach him with the punches, but it's easier with the kicks. And he always try to blitz you with the straight left, and I was able to slip the straight left and catch him with a hook, which he's been doing that his whole career. He'll blitz you with a straight left, but I was able to counter.
You called out Rockhold after the fight. What aspects of this matchup interesting you the most? You called out Rockhold after the fight. What aspects of this matchup interests you the most?
He's a top-level guy. You know, he's 1 or 2 in the division. I think it'd be a great matchup, you know. I think I could put hands on him, touch that chin one time. I could put him down also.
Do you think a win over him would put you in a position to fight for the title next?
Oh yeah, for sure. A win over Rockhold would definitely get me next in the title shot. I mean, the media sleeps on me a lot, but what I've done in the UFC, what I've done over my career, a lot of crazy. I mean, I had a controversial decision over Anderson. You know, let's say I get that win, that takes away a loss. Romero, I was beating him 2-0. I was dominating the whole fight. He was able to catch me with a punch with about a minute left. If I would have just danced around for a minute, I would have got that win, you know. There's several fights in my career. You know, Whittaker, I touched him a lot. He touched me a lot. You know, I rocked him. He rocked me. He was able to get the win if I would have slowed down a little bit. So I definitely had a crazy career, but I'm starting to put it together and starting to, you know, take my time and know that I can really do some damage by just slow down just a little bit.
Were you already planning on calling him out, or seeing DC in front of you reminded you of him and you called him down?
Yeah, you know, I wasn't planning on calling Rockhold out. I didn't have anybody in mind. It just kind of came to me at the last minute, and I was like, okay, that'll be a good guy to fight next.
Boa noite, parabéns pela vitória.
Good evening, congrats on your win.
O Anderson Silva vencendo na
Anderson
China.
Silva winning in
Pode ser
China.
cogitada uma nova luta com ele para
Do you
limpar
consider
o
another
card,
fight
da
with him
derrota, ou já é
to
passada essa
receive
derrota
that?
para o Anderson,
Or
que você
are you
mesmo
past
disse que acreditou ter vencido?
You believe you won.
Yeah, I grew up watching Anderson Silva. It's funny, every time I make a reference to that fight, the fans will definitely remind me that Anderson is their favorite fighter and not me. They'll be like, hey, get over it. So, you know, I've had 2 first-round finishes since that fight. I definitely know that I won that fight, but it's done and it's gone. So I guess it's time to move on, you know. It's time to really start working my way down to the top, you know. In the rankings, yeah, let me jump him and then we'll forget about it, because definitely, you know, a performance like that against a guy like Lyoto, I think, you know, should deserve to jump a couple people. Thank
All right, that was Derek Brunson, the victorious Derek Brunson in the main event at UFC Fight Night 119. Big win for him. And listen, it's funny because he ended up calling out Luke Rockhold, but I don't. It's funny because I don't think he really meant to call out anybody. I just think Daniel Cormier was doing what he was supposed to do. You know, try to press people, I mean, I don't even think the UFC is like trying to press people. I think just everybody realized it. You know, like Brian Stan used to be really good at it. John Anik, of course, is real good at it. It's just trying to get people to point out that next fight for themselves. It's a nice move to make. I don't think Derek Brunson cares about it too much. I think he just wants to fight and get paid and do what he can. But he mentioned Luke Rockhold. I don't think it's a bad plan. I mean, I don't think there's any real like natural like that's the fight that has to happen right now. But it's not a bad fight, right? I mean, if you're trying to pick fights in that division, you could do worse. I mean, he definitely deserves a big name. It's I don't know. I feel like Derek Brunson is quickly and quietly becoming one of those perennially underranked dudes. I mean, we've got him at number 10 in the MMA Junkie rankings. I'm sure he'll move up slightly after that. Tough, because we got him right behind Anderson Silva. Do you move him past Anderson Silva? Technically, he lost to Anderson Silva, even though I didn't think he lost to Anderson Silva. So, I mean, where do you put him after that? But there's, potential big fights on the horizon for him. We'll see. All right, co-main event. Crazy, right? Colby Covington beats Demian Maia. Colby Covington talking all the trash, coming in, saying that he was going to destroy Demian Maia. No, man, no question about it. Look, I've been a fan of Colby Covington. I've talked about it before. In the very beginning, his first fight was in Macau. I was there covering that fight. That was Bisping versus Kong Lee. There weren't a lot of English speakers on the card, so I ended up talking to him, even though he's a debuting UFC fighter. And I liked his attitude, man. I liked his swagger. He fought an overclassed, outmatched opponent that night, but he picked up the win. Then his next fight was in Brazil, and I happened to be there for that. So it's just, I happened to just continue to run into Colby Covington, and I became a fan of his. I liked his attitude because I like when guys come in from a young age, a young time in their record, and they already have this swagger. They already have this drive. They already have this belief. And you could see from the beginning, man, that he thought he was a future champion. And did have the loss to Guarulhos along the way. He came into that fight injured. We'll always say he doesn't make excuses, but bottom line is, in retrospect, he kind of wishes he hadn't taken it. Demian Maia was a tough fight. I picked Colby Covington in the staff picks that we do for MMA Junkie, but I got to say, with huge reservations. I made the pick with huge reservations because I felt like he had the ability. I think what you guys definitely saw in the fight was his defensive wrestling is fantastic. It's amazing. And Demian Maia doesn't have the best takedowns. But what Demian Maia is really good at is getting in the right positions in scrambles. Putting himself in the right spot. When the transitions happen, he ends up in the right spot. And what I've always been in awe of with Colby Covington is the way that, like, in 1 second he's in a horrible position, and 2 seconds later he's completely reversed it. He does not allow himself to settle for bad positions. If he finds himself in a bad spot, he moves and he transitions and he gets out of it. And I thought, maybe the younger guy, especially against Demian Maia, who is fighting pretty quickly after that Tyron Woodley fight because he wanted to fight in Sao Paulo, maybe it would be the right formula. But I definitely wasn't sure. There's no question about it. But Colby Covington gets the job done at UFC Fight Night 119. Now, let's be honest. That first round was not good. If you're a Covington supporter, Maia was the one coming in, landing everything, right? Maia was the one that was dropping the big left hand. Maia was the one who, to be honest with you, I thought was landing or winning the striking exchanges. I saw the left hand landing. I saw Covington trying to be, try to have volume, try to push forward, try to set the tone. But I saw the counters from Demian Maia. Now, I talked to Colby Covington afterwards, and we'll get to this in just a minute. And what he said made a hell of a lot of sense. He said, listen, my game plan was completely centered around the fact that I needed to keep my hands low and be ready to, to scoop, basically. Like, I knew that he was going to be coming at me, and I needed to be ready to defend those takedowns at all costs. And that actually does make some sense, right? Like, I know that Demian Maia is probably not going to knock me out. And I know that I need to not, yes, I need a strike, but the bottom line is I need to be able to defend that takedown. Demian Maia is so good at that shot. And, of course, when he shoots in, sometimes he doesn't always drive all the way through and get the shot, but he's so good at driving in, grabbing hold of you, falling back, slipping to half guard, and then dragging you into it, and then you're in his world. And that never, ever happened with Colby Covington. So, I found Colby Covington's performance impressive here. Did his striking look like it was the best that in the UFC welterweight division? Nah, it didn't. It didn't. And was he fading? Yeah, he was. There's no question about it, man. He was starting to fade as well. He was getting tired, just as tired as Demian Maia. But he did win the fight, and he did win it very, very impressively over the final 2 rounds. And then here's everything that happens after the fight, right? First of all, let's talk about Demian Maia. Demian Maia, such a class individual. You heard Fernanda Prates just talk about it earlier in the week. And basically anybody that knows Demian Maia will tell you what a class individual this guy is. And he was classy in defeat. It was funny. Friday night before the fights, just happened to run into him at the hotel. Was not staying at the host hotel this week, but went over there just to kind of hang out and see what was going on and try to run into some people and talk to him. And did end up talking to Demian Maia. And Demian does live in Sao Paulo, about 30 minutes outside of town is what he was telling me. And he mentioned he probably did rush back a little bit because he wanted to fight in Sao Paulo. But it was so he's such an honest guy. He says, listen, I've got a year and a half, 2 years left. Maybe that's 3 fights. Maybe it's 4 fights. I don't know what it is. But I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to fight in Sao Paulo again. This is in front of my friends and my family and where I live. And I got to do this. And maybe I rushed back a little bit after the Woodley fight, but I wanted to do this. And I don't know, man. Just he's such a class individual. The guy shows up to the post-fight press conference tonight, and basically at the end of the post-fight press conference, he's not in good shape. He was bleeding really bad at the end of that fight. He was exhausted. But at the end of the post-fight press conference, he basically takes a minute or two to thank all the journalists that are there, to thank all the people for covering the sport and having passion for the sport. That's just the type of class individual that this guy is. They just don't come any better than Demian Maia, man. They really, really don't. And man, the guy is such a grappling stud and such a fantastic human being overall. So, listen, he's probably, like you said, probably a year and a half, 2 years left at most. So enjoy all you can of Demian Maia, but the guy was class all the way, and even has some praise for his opponent, Colby Covington, who he admitted was, maybe a little bit harsh along the way, but behind the scenes was pretty cool. And I guess that brings us into Colby Covington. So, always said I'm a fan of this guy. I like his style. I like the fact that he sells the fights. I like the fact that he's got the confidence. I like the fact that he's got the swagger. I get it. Is he Conor McGregor? No, he's not. Is he Chael Sonnen? No, he's not. But is he somebody that's at least trying to push the needle in his direction? Yeah. And I don't see how you don't respect that. Here's a guy that has an impressive record. A very impressive record. Once beaten. And he admits he was injured in that fight. Doesn't try to make excuses about it, but admits he was injured in that fight. Continues to win along the way. Continues to beat people along the way. Continues to beat better and better competition along the way. I like Colby Covington. Now, let's talk about how he handled things. It's such a weird conversation, right? Because at this point in MMA, you have to sell fights, right? You have to sell fights. That's what makes it matter. Hell, hardcore MMA fans and media are talking about, it's oversaturated, it's watered down, it's this, it's that. You gotta find a way to make yourself memorable. Colby Covington makes himself memorable, and for that, I respect him. For that, I appreciate him. He's going the extra mile. Derek Brunson scored an incredible knockout of a former UFC champion. You think the headlines right now are about Derek Brunson? Because they're not. They're not. Plain and simple. The headlines are about Colby Covington. Now, he wins this fight. Wins impressively. Wasn't flawless. He did struggle in the first round. Demian Maia was looking good in that first round. But Colby Covington made the adjustments. definitely dominated second, third round. I scored the fight live 29-28. In fairness, it should have been 29-27. That third round should have been 10-8, and I didn't score it live that way. And I think I'll be honest with you. I think at that point I was worried more about getting the results posted and making sure that I had my camera in place, I had my phone in place to document whatever happened afterwards. Colby immediately did come run over to me and yelled at me from the cage. He's like, "Listen, I want the title shot. I want Tyron Woodley. I will destroy him inside of 4 rounds." I tweeted that. Tyron Woodley responded to that tweet right away, and there's been social media going back and forth ever since. But I say all that to just say it should have been 29-27. That third round was definitely 10-8. The MMA Junkie play-by-play doesn't show that now, but it should have been. So then Colby Covington wins the fight, and he sticks to his I hate to say shtick. I mean, that sounds almost too cheesy, but he keeps it going, right? He says, "Listen," and I'll be honest with you, at this moment, as I'm sitting here in the airport waiting to get on my flight to go home, I still don't know what he said. It was so loud in that arena. The boos were so loud I couldn't hear a word that he said on the microphone. But I saw some things, posted online, and obviously they weren't very positive. And then he rushes out. Security rushes him out. They rush him out of the arena. I took a quick little video with my phone. That is on MMA Junkie. You can see him being, the security people covering him up, and then you can see him being, people were throwing stuff at him and whatever. It's a shame. At the post-fight press conference, you want to go on YouTube, you can see David Shaw, who's UFC Senior Vice President, who's kind of taking over the Joe Carr role now that the Joe Carr's moved on to the World Surf League. He said, "Listen, there were some people in the company that aren't happy. We're going to take a look. We're going to investigate it." I don't expect anything to happen. I just don't. Colby has his point of view, and we'll hear that in just a moment. It's that weird fine line, right? Do we care about the sport, or do we care about the entertainment? Do we care about the WWE side of it? Because that's an impressive performance. You just beat Demian Maia. You just out-grappled Demian Maia because, the striking was a huge part of it as well, but, Demian Maia couldn't get the fight to the floor. This is one of the best grapplers in MMA history, and he couldn't get the fight to the floor. So what does that mean? That's impressive to me. And yeah, maybe you took a few more left hands than you should have on the way, but that's impressive to me. And then, I see a lot of people talking about racism and you know what? You're right to a degree. To sit there and talk trash about Brazil, it's a country that I've been to 29 times. It's a fantastic country. It's a country I'm sitting in right now, so I'll have to keep talking good about it until I get on a plane. But it's not a bad place. It's not a bad place. And like Chael Sonnen before him, who, Nogueira feeding a carrot to a bus, it's garbage. Of course it's garbage. How much of Brazil do you think Colby Covington really saw? He saw like a little tiny piece of one city. But he's talking trash because he gets it. It gets people involved. And I kind of appreciate it. And I kind of hate it. I kind of hate that that's what our sport is. But that's the bottom line. This guy is not going to fight forever. This guy has a little career window, and he's trying to figure out the way to maximize his income during that little career window. So can you blame him? Can you blame him? Because I kind of don't. He's definitely gotten under Tyron Woodley's skin a little bit. He actually says that they sparred together and that Tyron kind of ducked out of that sparring session. So here's what happened. Colby Covington did not attend the post-fight press conference. He got ushered out of the arena. Basically, after he was pelted with drinks and everything else, they just took him. They just said, "Hey, let's get the hell out of here." And fortunately, I was able to reach out to him and say, "Hey, since we're here, since you didn't get to talk post-fight, do you want to talk real quick and do a quick interview?" And he said, "Yeah." hit me up in my room. Let's come do an interview. So the video is on MMA Junkie. If it looks a little, suspect and shady because it looks like it's in somebody's hotel room, well, it was. It was in Colby Covington's hotel room. But of course, if you're an MMA Roadshow listener, we got your back. If you don't have time to watch that video, maybe you at least have time to listen to an exclusive Colby Covington interview.
Colby, we'll just say we're coming at you from an undisclosed location in Brazil, but obviously you didn't get to talk after the fight, so I wanted to catch up with you. Big win for you tonight. Talk about just the performance, how you felt overall in there tonight.
Yeah, I felt great in there, man. I really felt at home. I'm really coming into my own, and this is my prime right now, so I feel like I'm on top of my game, and I'm ready to take the world championship.
It ended up being a very dominant fight, but it started out a little tough. I mean, he was having some success with the left hand on the feet, cut you a little bit early. As things were going to start, I mean, did you feel a little concerned about how things were playing out?
No, I didn't feel concerned. I knew that he came out really strong and he was going to fade. I know that I have the best cardio in this division. And, I came out with a game plan to keep my hands down and make sure I beat him to the underhooks. I didn't want him to get to my legs and be able to get to the underhooks, because he has really good jiu-jitsu. So, I came out with a little bit of the wrong game plan in the beginning. I should have had my hands up, been feigning more. But, that's a learning experience, and I'm getting experience every time I'm in there. I would fight Tyron Woodley way differently.
A lot of smiles on your face during the course of the fight. What was going through your head that was bringing? I mean, sometimes it's the mask a little bit when you're frustrated, but it did seem like you were having some fun.
No, man, I was having fun, man. I like it when I'm getting hit. I like being in wars and bloody messes, and that's what I come to do, man. I'm going to start putting entertaining shows on. I'm going to fight a lot better than Tyron Woodley does. You saw his fight versus Demian Maia. That was boring, and I told you, I back up my work. I said when I fight Demian Maia, it's going to be the most exciting fight he's in, and that was a pretty dang exciting fight. If you don't like that, then you don't like anything.
It was a fun fight. You almost got the finish. Did you think in the third round, do you think maybe it should have been stopped?
Yeah, to be honest, I thought it should have been stopped. There was about 20 seconds left, and I was hitting some big shots, loading up, and the ref's like, fight back, Demian, fight back, Demian. I'm going to stop it, I'm going to stop it. And I thought he was going to stop it, so I just kind of started going with little shots, and then he kind of went to his back, man. He was a bloody mess. I felt, it's unfortunate that it didn't get stopped, but, hats off to him for surviving.
He had nothing but respect for you at the press conference. I know you didn't get to see it, but he also said, listen, guys, I know there was a lot of tension, but to be honest with you, behind the scenes, Colby showed me a lot of respect and told me, hey, I do think that you're a legend in the game. So is that maybe, do people kind of misunderstand sometimes that yes, you got to sell a fight, you got to kind of build some tension for a fight, but that you really didn't have any problems with Demian?
Yeah, definitely. All week, man, people don't see the stuff behind the scenes. Me and Demian, we were behind the scenes after the photo shoots, after the media scrum. We're shaking hands, hey, respect, brother, much love. This is just part of the game, like people know that you just have to sell a fight and you have to promote the fight. And if I want to promote the fight by talking the talk, I'm walking the walk. So bring someone that's going to stop me from walking the walk. But at the end of the day, I have nothing but respect for Demian Maia and his career. He's a Hall of Famer.
It was so loud in the arena, I'm not going to lie. I don't even know what you said on the microphone. We couldn't hear you, but obviously the crowd reacted, and we did, see as you walked out, they kind of pelted you with beer and whatever else. I mean, I guess, first of all, did you get hit? Are you okay? And just what was that madness like for you?
Oh, man, that was unlike anything I've ever been through in my life. Beer bottles flying across my head. I got hit a couple times by a couple bottles, but the security did a good job. There was like 20 guys huddled over me, making sure my head was low. Reed Harris said he had to pull some guy out of the stands that hit me with a bottle. So, man, it was chaos, and that's what comes with my nickname. So, I enjoyed it. I had a great time out there. It was a lot of fun.
You, I guess, basically they took you right out of the arena right away. I'm assuming you not doing the post-fight press conference wasn't your call?
No, not at all. I was really looking forward to the press conference. I had my suit ready. I was going to, say some good things about Brazil, say some good things about Demian Maia, and then, focus my attention to Tyron Woodley. He's next, and there's no more running.
I guess before we talk about Tyron, let's talk about Brazil. I mean, since the fight is in the books and, everything's done, do you walk back anything you said, or do you feel like you wish maybe the whole country wasn't against you or out to get you now?
No, I don't walk back anything I said because, I don't think I said anything that offensive. Look at the stuff they're saying to me all week, John, like the stuff in the walkout. They're saying, oh, you're a faggot. Oh, you're going to die. Oh, you're a pussy. Oh, you're this, homophobic slurs. Like all these different, like super nasty remarks. And I'm just like, where's the double standard at? They can say these things, but I say just, oh, the place is a dump and they're filthy animals just as a game, because this is a game to me. I'm just having fun with it. I'm just trying to promote and make it fun for the fans, So how am I taking criticism for that? Look at what they're saying to me. Stop having a double standard.
when you were still in the cage afterwards, you turned to me and you said, listen, I will break Tyron Woodley within 4 rounds. I want my championship fight. He has come back on Twitter, obviously, and said, some things about you already. I don't know how much of it you've gotten to see, but, what do you think about it? It looks like maybe you've gotten under his skin a little bit, and why do you think that matchup is so favorable to you?
I think it's a very favorable matchup. We've trained together, and deep down inside, he could say whatever he wants, but he knows I broke him in the gym. We were supposed to spar 5 rounds one day. Inside 3 rounds, he was done. He said, I'm done for the day. I'm too tired. I'm too gassed out. So, I know how to fight that guy. He got beat by Jake Shields in a striking fight. Come on, man. He got beat by Rory McDonald. Look how Rory fought him. Nate Marquardt. Look at the guys, how they fought him. They pressure fight him. He breaks under pressure. And I'm a 10-time better version of those guys. So I just know it's an easy matchup, and I'm looking to take my belt. I'm the king of this division. This is my division now.
The UFC did say afterwards they were a little disappointed in some of the comments they were going to investigate. I don't know have they spoken to you yet, and kind of how do you expect that process to go?
No, they haven't spoken to me too much about it. I was talking to my manager, Dan Lambert, about it, and we were both kind of agreeing that it's not fair. Look at the NFL players that are protesting and against war veterans that have been killed in the war, and they're voicing their opinion, and there's no backlash for them, and then also, like the things they're saying to me, you will die, all these negative comments, all these mean things, and then I poke back with a little fun. I didn't see anything homophobic. I didn't say anything racist. I just said Brazil is a dump, and they're acting like animals. What's wrong with that? I don't see what's wrong with that. It's just a game. We're just having fun. Don't take it too personal. Don't take it too serious. Nothing but respect, Brazil.
You still got a lot of time left in your career, no doubt. Does this sour you on maybe fighting abroad? Do you want to be back in the States for a little while, or do you kind of like the adventure?
Oh man, I love the adventure. There's nothing like going to someone's backyard and fighting them in their backyard and having the hostile environment, the booze. I live up to that and I rise to the occasion. So, but obviously, I'd love to fight in America because my family, my friends, everybody want to watch me in America. So hopefully they make a UFC in Oregon. I'm from Oregon, so they should go back to Oregon. There's a lot of rich history there. But if not that, I want title fights in Vegas. I feel like I've earned it.
Do you think this was enough to get a title fight? Because again, Dana had said that, hey, the other fight out there, that's probably the number 1 contender fight. But this was a big win. Do you think doing it the way you did was enough to get you the title fight?
Yeah, I do believe that I earned a title fight. Look at how bad I bloodied Demian Maia. I completely outclassed him. Tyron Woodley couldn't do that to him in 5 rounds, So look at what I did in 3 rounds. Give me 5 rounds with Tyron Woodley, and I'll beat that ass-kissing champ, So, as far as RDA and Ruthless, Lawler, Lawler, he got knocked out in a minute. You're going to do that fight again if he beats RDA? That doesn't make sense, He's past his time. He takes 2 years off or a year off, year and a half off after he gets knocked out, and then he beats Cerrone barely in a split decision, and you saw how Cerrone looked against Till. Lawler doesn't look that good, and he's at the end of his career, and he already been knocked down in under a minute. It doesn't make sense to do that fight again. And then RDA, he's beating 2 guys on losing streaks, Neil Magny's on a losing streak. Tarek Safin was on like a 4-fight losing streak. I don't think there's anybody more deserving in the world. And if you want someone to dethrone that champ, I'm the guy to beat Tyron Woodley.
Perfect world. If you can get this fight, maybe you need a little bit of rest. When would you like to book this fight?
Dude, I'd fight him next weekend in Madison Square Garden if they wanted me to. So I'm ready for Tyron Woodley right now. I saw the best Demian Maia tonight, and Tyron wanted to make excuses with him. Oh, you got to fight me on 4 weeks. Whatever you want to do, Tyron. You want to fight on 2 weeks? You want to fight next week? I'll fight you in your backyard. I'll fight you in your front yard. We can fight anywhere you want to fight with any time you want to fight. Let's do it.
So Colby Chaos Covington, love him or hate him, he picked up another win. He's in line for a big fight. The title shot, I don't know. Maybe you just keep, poking your finger in Tyron Woodley's chest enough, you get that opportunity. But I don't know. I think there's probably another fight on his agenda before he can actually get his way to a title shot. But wouldn't be out of line. This is the time of selling fights, right? This is the time of rivalries, and I feel like RDA, Lawler, I don't know. Maybe you can sell the Lawler angle with Woodley and ATT and all that, but come on, you have Colby Covington right there, who's still ATT. So to me, it's not out of the question. It's at least a possibility. All right, Pedro Munoz picked up a first-round guillotine choke win over Rob Font, a one-handed guillotine choke over Rob Font. This was a fun fight. Thought it would be a good fight going in. By the way, I missed every pick on this afterwards. But I thought Rob Font's striking looked good. I thought what I thought could happen with Rob Font's striking looked good, man. He was looking quick. He was moving well. He was pumping out the jab. But Pedro Munoz rocked him on the feet, and should be said, rocked him on the feet, and that is what it was. It was a panicked wrestler, as as our man likes to call it. The little Irish dude, a panicked wrestler, shot in on him. And once Pedro Munoz had that opportunity, man, he just dropped back, caught that guillotine choke, which is on another level, and got the one-handed guillotine choke. Fantastic. $50,000. Pedro Munoz is a bright young talent. Man, if you're not keeping your eyes on him, please do. He's had some setbacks along the way. He's definitely not infallible, but there's definitely something to Pedro Munoz's game. Another bonus check for him. Amazing. Good fight. Rob Font's not going anywhere either. Francisco Trinaldo picked up a unanimous decision win over Jim Miller. Very, very impressed with Francisco Trinaldo here. Sometimes does have an opportunity to gas. Continued to fight well. And that, to be honest with you, that's what I thought was going to happen here. I thought that Francisco Trinaldo was going to jump out to a quick start. And then Jim Miller, being the gritty, badass dude that he is, was going to battle back and kind of win the last two rounds and take this fight. Instead, it went the exact opposite way. It was Jim Miller who won the first round. Francisco Trinaldo won the last two. Trinaldo's a tough dude, man. He really, really is. He's probably perennially underrated by anybody that's not in Brazil. Just a big, strong, badass dude with an awesome story. Jim Miller didn't get a chance to talk to him afterwards, obviously. He was hurting. As they were waiting to read the decision for this, man, he kept grabbing his head, kept kind of bending over a little bit, like he was hurting. This was a war, and Jim Miller, your all-time UFC fights leader now at this point, such a badass, man. I love watching Jim Miller fight, and I hope he has many more. But this was a tough fight for him. It definitely was. Thiago Marreta Santos picked up a TKO win over Jack Hermanson. Man, Marreta, when he's on point, is just on point. It was so wild because he is a big dude. He carries a lot of muscle mass, and was, I think, facing the potential to slow down at times, but paced himself really, really well and picked his spots to attack. And Jack, he was moving well, and I was impressed. I think he came in with the right idea, but it just never really worked for him. And Marreta picked the right point to just unleash an attack and finish this in the first round. John Lineker picked up a win over Marlon Chito Vera. I'm a Chito Vera fan as well, man. I love the guy. He's a fun dude. He loves talking fights, and I think he's a fun guy to hang out with. John Lineker, of course, is just a badass fighter. But a little bit outsized in the bantamweight division. I mean, you saw these two guys together. You could definitely see the size difference between them. But Lineker was able to manage the distance, and I don't know if Chito was just a little too hesitant, because I thought he won the final round. I didn't like that 30-27 score that was in there. I thought it was 29-28. I don't know if he just waited too long. You got to be careful. The way that Lineker throws those shots to the body, it's so good. And then, it's such a beautiful combination. Body, head, body, head, body, head. Such nice work. It's such nice work. I did think that this would be an opportunity for him to be maybe potentially a little bit outsized, and potentially maybe Chito Vera would take this to the ground, but that did not happen. And John Lineker picked up a decision win. And said, hey, listen, that big bantamweight fight, Dominic Cruz, Jimmy Rivera, if anybody drops out, holla at your boy. I'll be there. And you know what? I would not hate if he stepped into either one of those fights. Vicente Luque picked up a submission win by Darce Choke, second round over Nico Price. Great fight here. Luque just looked amazing, man. He just pressed the fight forward, controlled the pace, controlled the positioning, controlled everything. Nico was pumping on his jab, but everything that Luque brought back was just stronger, more accurate, better. He just got beat by the better guy. There's no question. Luque stepped in on short notice, and Price. I'm still a fan of Nico Price, man. I still like this guy a lot. I think he's still got a lot of upside. He's got a great attitude. He's got a great personality. He's got a great fighting style. But he just got outclassed by Luque. Funny, Nico walked by press row after the fight. And he kind of looked over at me and made eye contact and just dropped an F-bomb, basically. It's just, I like Nico, man. He's a good kid. He's got the right attitude. And I think he just ran into a tough guy, Vicente Luque, who looks like the real deal. And who I'll be honest with, we should have interviewed pre-fight, and we didn't. Because I didn't realize, I had kind of forgot that he speaks English as well as he does. You get down to these Brazil cards and you kind of forget sometimes. It's like, well, there's a Brazilian that doesn't speak. It's not that we shouldn't interview him, but it's just, do you guys really want to watch an interview that's, dubbed over in Portuguese? And no, that's why we didn't do it. Antonio Carlos Jr. dominated Jack Morrison. Just looked phenomenal. Phenomenal. I will say this. I mean, Demian Maia, the Sao Paulo native, of course, got a huge welcome. But on the prelims, Antonio Carlos Jr. got a huge welcome. So big fan base there, and did a great job. I thought what was amazing about this fight, if you didn't see it, is just, I mean, he got the fight to the floor, and as you would expect, Carlos Esparto dominated the positioning. Marshall was basically trying to hold for a stand-up, didn't get it, but Carlos Esparto only needed like 12 seconds on the. I mean, not even that. 12 seconds is too much. Like a half second. It's crazy. It's just the neck was exposed for such a brief period of time, and he jumped on it. He is so good, man. He is so good in the submission game. So impressive win there, and was amazing to me to see. He's a huge crowd favorite. Jared Flash Gordon picked up the win over Hakan Diaz, a unanimous decision win. Impressive performance here. Probably could have been stopped a couple times on the way. Hakan Diaz, I was a little surprised to see him gas at lightweight. I mean, he was definitely exhausted by the end of the fight. But a big win for Jared Gordon there. LSU Zaleska dos Santos picking up the decision win over Max Griffin. Just insane fight here. If you didn't see it, worth checking out. To be honest with you, thought the fight should have been stopped after the first round. Max Griffin was just about finished in the first round. Ironically, I guess, or for whatever. I did not score this fight, or this round, at 10-8. Probably should have, in retrospect. Again, I mean, there's a lot of things going on Fight Night. I don't want to pretend to be perfect. But I thought Griffin was winning the round until the last, 30 seconds or so, and then Zaleska dos Santos caught him and damn near finished him on the floor. And so in my head, it switches from 10-9 to 9-10. Probably should have gone all the way to 10-8, to be honest with you. But here's the weird thing is, and this is why I know I probably should have stopped it, is that, or I probably should have scored 10-8, is that I think the fight should have been stopped. And props to Max Griffin, because he lasted another 10 minutes. So he proved that he's a tough-ass SOB. He proved that he deserved to be in that fight. But, dude, he comes back to his corner, and he has to be held up. I mean, his corner is literally body-locking him and keeping him on his feet before they set him on the ground. And Max is tough, man. He's tough. But at that point, I think you need your corner to step in. And it's one of those weird things when you say the fight should have been stopped and then it lasts another 10 minutes. Well, then maybe that proves to you that it shouldn't have been stopped because the guy definitely lasted. But I don't know, man. He did not look the same guy to me in round 2 and round 3. I think he took too much damage in round 1. And I feel like the right thing to do was to wave it off after the first round. Davison Figueiredo picked up a split decision win over Jared Brooks. This was a fight that I was excited about. Flew under the radar. Figueiredo had a terrible weight cut. Made it. They had beef at the weigh-ins. Undefeated flyweights. I mean, there was so much good things happening here. And it ended up being a crazy fight. It really ended up just another fight that's worth going back and watching. If you didn't catch this card, go back and watch this fight. It's a little bit awkward at times because the way the styles match up, it's repetitive at moments. The sequences that they go through are repetitive. because it's just the way they match up. But it's such a value over takedowns versus submissions and advancing versus, Figueroa was definitely landing the better shots. It's just a weird fight when you see a split decision score where a guy wins 29-28 on 2 cards and loses 30-27 on another card. It stands out to you, and sometimes you think, well, maybe that judge sucked. But I don't think that was the case. It was just a close fight. It was really, really close. I actually scored the fight for Jared Brooks. I thought he won the fight. He thought he won the fight. In fact, he actually gave a quote afterwards where he thought he won the fight 30-27. I had him 29-28. It's an interesting fight. Maybe they'll meet down the line. These are two kind of up-and-comers. They were undefeated. Maybe they'll meet again down the line. Jared Brooks said he'd like to do it again. I'm not taking anything away from Figueroa. Tough weight cut. Battled through it all. Won the fight. He's fun to watch, man. He's a good striker. But I don't know. I thought Brooks won the fight. Night started out with Marcelo Golm picking up a submission win over Christian Colombo. Marcelo Golm, who stepped in on short notice as well, does look like somebody to pay attention to in the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division is full of guys that are getting old, that are kind of nearing the end of the line. And here's a young guy who's kind of unheralded, but throws straight punches, throws them quickly, throws them with power. Definitely hurt Christian Colombo. I didn't get to hear the podcast, but I guess at one point Christian Colombo suggested that maybe he would retire. He did actually come back afterwards and say that, no, I'm not retiring. Maybe I was a little frustrated. I don't know exactly how that all got communicated, but he's not retiring. We do have an interview with him on MMA Junkie YouTube. We'll probably have it on MMA Junkie as well. Not often you see a prelim loser talking about their fight, but he did so. So clarifying that he's not retiring. So anyway, listen, my plane is going to board soon. I'm sorry that I did not get to have Fernanda Prates on here. We ran out of time at the hotel, finishing up work and getting that interview with Colby Covington. And now I got to go jump on a plane. So just want to say thank you to Cold Coffee, who's going to get everything edited together. Thank you to, of course, Fernanda Prates for working all week together in Brazil. Got to say, Avi Subban over in Europe was throwing down as well. He actually helped out today. And, of course, more than anything, I thank you for listening.